I'm not sure if you can relate with me, but my whole life I was taught that I had to be a high value man to become someone who is worthy, someone desirable, admired. So I did what they said. I learned to work hard. I pushed myself. I leveled up. I tried to become the kind of man that she would prospectively want. Now, I didn't sculpt my body, but I grew my career and I read the books. I practiced discipline. I learned the social cues and I became better. I became smarter, stronger, more in control, more put together. And there I was, more polished than ever and still feeling so far away, so isolated. I did everything right and she still seemed so distant or uninterested or just absent. And the voices inside were whispering again, what else do I have to do to be enough? I think this episode is to try and answer that question. Because the truth is, it wasn't that I wasn't enough. It was that I was giving her the wrong thing. See, I was offering perfection when I think what she was starving for was presence. And she doesn't need me to be flawless. She just needed me to stay. Not just in the room, but actually in that moment. Not just physically near, but also emotionally with her. But you see, I don't think we were ever taught that though. We were taught to perform, to impress, to win, to lead, to dominate, to provide for. And somewhere in all that noise, I think we missed one skill that holds a relationship together. And that's the skill of being with someone, being attuned with them, being soft when needed, being steady when it really matters, being present when she feels like she's falling apart. You see, presence isn't just about having the right words. It's not about being stoic or calm or cool under pressure. It's not about always knowing what to do. I think presence is when you don't leave yourself, so then you don't leave her. It's when you feel what you feel, even when that scares you, and still you stay. It's when she's angry or sad or overwhelmed, and instead of flinching or fixing or disappointing, we stay. It's when the moment gets uncomfortable and then we don't run. Presence is what makes us trustworthy. It's what makes love feel safe. It's what makes a good man into a deeply connected man. But let's get real though. Like, presence is terrifying because presence requires exposure, not your strengths, but your insides. It means being seen in your uncertainty, being seen in your fear. You're not having it all together. It means staying even when every part of you wants to shut down or power up. And if no one has ever modeled that for you, if the men around you only ever taught you how to be strong and silent and successful or stoic, then presence might feel a lot like weakness. But let me say this clearly though. Presence, I think, is power. Not the loud kind of power and not the flashy kind, but the kind of power that holds someone even when they're coming undone. That kind makes space when someone needs to be known. They're the kind that doesn't move when things get messy. And that's the kind of man I think that she's hoping that you and I will become. Not the man with all the answers, but the man who doesn't leave that moment. So let me show you at least what I think of how this could go. Because becoming present is a practice, not a performance. It's like a muscle, not a medal we have to earn. It's like something we learn through repetition and through repair and in relationship. And it starts with something that most of us men avoid, which is emotional honesty. See, you and I can admit when we're strong, but can we admit when we're anxious? Can we name when we feel unworthy? Can we sit with the pain of not being chosen without blaming or numbing or trying to escape? See, presence begins when we stop running from ourselves. Because if we're not present with ourselves, then we'll never actually be present with her. And so we'll try to manage her emotions instead of actually feeling them. And we'll try to solve her pain instead of sitting with her in it. And we'll try to impress her instead of trying to attune with her. And why is this? I think it's because being truly with her means being truly with ourselves first. And that's what we men were never shown how to do, I think. But we can learn. And when we do, everything changes. You see, we can't give someone what we won't actually give ourselves. And if we've never been taught how to stay with our own discomfort, we'll unconsciously abandon others in the process of theirs. We'll check out when she cries, we'll get defensive when she gets disappointed. We'll problem solve her pain instead of just witnessing it. Not because we don't care, but because we just don't know how to stay present when things feel vulnerable. This is where I think so many good men lose connection, not through cruelty, but through absence. And here's the hardest part. That absence, it doesn't always look like leaving. Sometimes it looks like nodding while internally you're shutting down. Sometimes it looks like fixing things so fast that she never gets to actually feel heard. Sometimes it's like providing and protecting, but never actually opening up to her. So we become this fortress of responsibility. We're reliable, we're dependable, but at the same time, we're unreachable. And eventually she just stops knocking. And she begins to pull away, not because we're bad, but because she feels alone. With someone who's always around, but never really with her. And we didn't understand this. We were doing everything that we were told that a good man should do, but she isn't asking for our resume. She's asking for our presence, for the version of us that isn't guarded or armored or performing. She's asking for the part of us that's here in this moment right now. And that's why being present is so powerful. It says, I'm not just going to love you when it's easy. I'm actually going to love you even when you're hard to be with, and when I'm hard to be with too. See, I'm not just showing up with solutions, I'm actually showing up with myself. That's a terrifying prospect because presence means risking being seen. And being seen means being vulnerable. And for many of us men, vulnerability feels like exposure to attack. That's not our fault though. That's the survival wiring we've adopted. See, we were taught, maybe even trained, to protect, not to expose, to lead, not to lean, to shut it down and not stay open, and to just power through instead of sitting with it. So here's the first real practice of presence. And that's to learn to be with what's real, without numbing, without trying to fix it, without making it someone else's fault. See, can we sit with her in her tears without retreating? Can we hold her pain without needing to solve it? Can we let her feel disappointed in us without trying to make it go away too fast? Because those are the moments where presence becomes real. Not when we're planning dates or giving gifts, not when we're performing emotional intelligence like a checklist, but when we're steady in the discomfort, when we don't flinch, when we silence, when our silence isn't abandoning, but it's attunement, it's listening, and it's connecting. And this is about how we can, in essence, reclaim our humanity. Because when we stop trying to be perfect, we're finally giving ourselves permission to be real. And in that realness, something profound really happens. That is, we become more trustworthy. Not because we never mess up, but because we actually stay when we do mess up. We own it. We listen. We don't disappear. Presence also means showing up before she has to ask. Not as a savior, but as someone who is paying attention, noticing her moods, noticing our impact, noticing when she feels safe and when she doesn't feel safe. That kind of presence, my dear men, it can't be faked. It comes from being intentional, from maturity, from the willingness to stay when it would be easier just to shut down. And maybe you're hearing all this and thinking, yeah, but no one ever told me how to do this. Well, exactly. That's why this is hard, because presence is generational repair. We weren't held that way, right? So it feels unnatural to hold someone else in this way. But if we can push through this discomfort, we can become the kind of men who break cycles instead of repeating them. You and I become the kind of partner who's felt even in our silence. The kind of man that she doesn't have to explain her pain to in order to feel understood. The kind of presence that says, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. And that, more than anything else, is what makes love feel safe. See, there's a moment in every relationship when presence becomes the dividing line. Not compatibility, not attraction, not how many books you've read, or how self-aware you and I claim to be. But it's just one question, and that is, can we stay? Can we stay emotionally there in the moment, even when it's not tidy? Can we stay when relationally our partner isn't at their best? Can we mentally own when our fears rise up? Presence isn't about perfection, it's more about availability. Not physical availability, but emotional attunement. The kind where our eyes tell her, I see you. The kind where our body language says, I'm not leaving. It's the kind where our silence communicates safety, not shutting down. But let's name something really challenging here, shall we? A lot of us men don't disappear because we don't care. We disappear because our presence feels overwhelming. It stirs up too much. And no one has showed us how to stay grounded in the midst of a storm. And so we get loud or cold or fixity, or we ghost emotionally right in front of her. And here's where this could get personal. Because if you've never been taught how to hold your own emotions, then her emotions will feel more like an invasion on yours. You'll feel hijacked by her sadness or attacked by her disappointment. You might feel overwhelmed by her vulnerability. But she's not too much. She's just trying to be with you. And our job isn't to absorb her. It's actually to meet her in presence, not to drown in her pain, but to be a shore where her waves can rest for a while. And that starts by changing how we meet ourselves. See, presence with others is impossible without presence first with ourselves. So let's talk about what that really looks like, shall we? It means pausing before reacting. Noticing when we're starting to check out, feeling our heartbeat, our heat rise when the discomfort shows up, and then choosing to stay in the room, even if all our body wants to do is just to blitz. It means saying things like, I feel like I'm shutting down, but I want to stay. Or I don't know what to say, but I want to be here with you right now. Or saying, this is hard for me, but I care too much to disappear. See, that is presence right there. Not the kind that looks polished, but the kind that's rooted. It's messy, it's honest, it's embodied, if you will. And the more we practice this, the more we stop fearing her emotions because we're no longer afraid of our own emotions. That's when something unlocks on the inside. Instead of avoiding connection because it's too much, we can now start actually craving it because it feels real. And now we're no longer offering performance. Now we are offering presence. We're no longer trying to impress her. Instead, we're trying to connect now. See, we're no longer a man who's reaching for validation, but we're men who are now rooted in our truth. And here's the incredible thing about this shift, and that's we start realizing that we don't need to be enough. We just need to be there. She doesn't want us to be her therapist, okay? She doesn't want us to never struggle, and she doesn't want us to become some, I don't know, like hyper evolved emotional genius that doesn't happen overnight. But she does want us to feel with her, right? She wants to know that when life gets loud, we don't get quiet. She wants to trust when the storms come, and they will, that we won't jump ship to go look for calmer waters. We're willing to stay. Even if all we can do is hold her hand and breathe together in the dark with her. See, presence says, I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to walk through this with you. And let me tell you, nothing builds intimacy faster than that. Because love doesn't grow when everything is smooth. Love grows when things are rough. And when someone in the midst of that roughness stays. Presence isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself saying, here I am. It doesn't come with grand gestures or poetic promises. And it's not about planning the perfect date or saying the perfect thing. Instead, presence is subtle. It's the stillness when she's spiraling. It's the softness when she's on edge. It's that steadiness when she doesn't really feel steady herself. And here's the part I think we often miss. Presence is felt. It's visceral. It's embodied. It's not what you say. It's how safe she feels around you. See, you could speak all the right words, but if you're holding tension in your body, if your attention is darting away, if your nervous system is screaming, get me out of here, she can sense and feel that. Because presence is not performance. Presence is like an inner state. It's the willingness to feel yourself so that she can also feel with you. And that's what most of us men were never taught. See, our body is part of our presence. The more grounded we are, the more grounded she feels. And the more honest we can be with ourselves, the more intimacy she trusts with us. So what keeps us men from this kind of presence though? I can name at least three here. Three of the most common barriers, if you will. Number one, shame. Holy crap, shame. See, you believe that if she really saw you, like your fear, your confusion, your inadequacy, then she would leave. And so we tend to hide behind logic and behind success and behind composure. But here's what we didn't realize. We didn't realize that hiding is really what creates the distance. It's not the imperfections, it's the hiding. And what she's really aching for isn't our flawlessness, it's actually our honesty. It's the breath that says, I don't have it all together, but I'm still here with you. And that leads, I think, to the second barrier. And the second barrier to shame is self-doubt that's disguised as strength. See, so many of us men equate presence with being perfectly regulated, as if being present means never feeling anything ourselves, never cracking, never being confused, never saying, I don't know. But presence doesn't mean pretending. It means showing up as we are. See, sometimes we're strong. Sometimes, though, we're soft. Sometimes we're tired or afraid or hopeful or open. Presence says, I'm human and I'm not going anywhere. That's real strength. And the third barrier is control. Oh, control. See, when we don't know how to sit with someone else's emotions, we usually try to control it. So we'll change the subject, right? We'll fix the problem. We'll tell a joke, or I'm trying to make a joke. We'll analyze the problem. We'll talk her out of her feelings. And in doing so, we'll make her feel alone in it, which was the exact opposite of what presence could have done. Because presence, it doesn't control the emotion. It actually creates a container for that emotion. It says, you don't have to feel this alone, or you're allowed to fall apart here. I won't rescue you from it, but I will be with you in the midst of this. That's the heart of emotional safety. And the moment she feels this, she'll breathe deeper. She'll speak more freely. She'll soften into trusting you. Because presence is what invites vulnerability. And vulnerability is what deepens that connection. So if you're wondering why she doesn't quite open up to you anymore, consider asking yourself, do you offer her presence, or do you offer her solutions? Do you sit with her, or do you try to fix her? Do you try to understand, or do you try to manage her? That difference matters. Because the men who build lasting relationships, they aren't the ones who never fail. They're the men who actually stay present when they do. They repair instead of trying to retreat. They apologize without collapsing. And they hold space without trying to take over. And these kind of men, these steady, grounded, emotionally available men, they're not superheroes. They weren't born with special traits. They're the men who actually chose to practice presence. One messy, honest moment at a time. And here's what presence does that perfection never could do. Presence makes love feel safe. Not exciting, not impressive, not romantic comedy magical kind of thing, but just safe. And safety isn't boring. It's the foundation that allows her nervous system to rest. It's what lets her exhale. It's what lets her trust. It's what makes her feel like home isn't a place, but it's a person. See, perfection demands performance, whereas presence invites relaxation. And you can feel the difference. See, with perfection, she feels like she's walking on eggshells, trying to match your upholding. But with presence, she feels like she can finally be herself, with no makeup, with no script, with no mask, just with her authentic realness, her messiness, her humanness. And that's what unlocks intimacy. Not sexual chemistry, not a shared Spotify playlist, not perfectly timed text, but that slow, steady realization that we can show parts of ourselves that we usually hide, and that we're willing to stay in the midst of that. And here's the beautiful part in all this. You see, when you give her that kind of safety, she'll return it. She'll soften, she'll attune, she'll offer her presence in return. And it won't be out of obligation. It's not because she's trying to be a good partner, but because safety really opens her up. Because presence pulls her in. And that's when connection becomes sacred. See, we can go from performing for each other to actually being with each other. And we can go from hiding our fears to holding each other's fears tenderly. And we can go from trying to earn love to realizing that we already had it. We just had to stay long enough to be able to feel it. So what can we do now? Well, let's start practicing. Let's start practicing pausing instead of reacting. Let's practice breathing instead of trying to fix things. Let's practice saying, I don't know, but I want to stay close with you. Let's practice noticing the parts of ourselves that want to shut down, and then gently bringing ourselves back to the present. Because presence isn't about getting it right. It's about returning over and over consistently. And here's the thing, we're going to mess this up along the way. We'll retreat, we'll get defensive at points, we'll forget to listen. But presence means that we can catch it again, we can name it, we can come back again and again and again, because consistency matters. That's what builds trust. That's what heals wounds. That's what turns love from something fragile into something unbreakable. So let's stop asking if we're enough. Let's stop trying to become her fantasy. Let's stop performing what we think a man should be. And instead, let's start being here. Let's start being in the room, not just with our body, but with our heart, with our breath, with our truth. Because she doesn't want a flawless man. She doesn't want the perfect script. She doesn't want the highlight reel of our best moments. What she wants is us, our whole imperfect present self. She wants the man who stays, the man who feels, the man who doesn't leave when love gets real. Because in the end, that's not the perfection that wins her trust. It's our presence. It always was our presence, and it always will be. I hope this has served you well. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments and your experiences.